So this is the next step of the bench build. I just wanted to go over a few things regarding the milling of the legs. So these are the legs that I cut last weekend. I didn't get anything done on the bench during the week. I made that decision so that I could get other things done around the house and whatnot, and I wasn't neglecting everything else because I was building the bench. So weekdays or weeknights, I'm reserving for other stuff. So this will be a thing that I do on the weekends. So when it comes to milling your lumber, there's a few things that you need to be aware of. Something I just noticed: you need to know you need to know your wood. I just noticed it, but I have the pith right here in the lumber. I tried my best not to get that, but looks like I didn't see this part. Anyway, wasn't paying much attention, I guess, to when I got the 6x6s. But once you have cut your lumber from its larger form, you're going to notice that things start to change on it. Not so much on the length of a 6x6, but when you're cutting it away from the rest of its original length or original width or the original shape, you're going to notice that the board, the lumber, or whatever might be starting to warp or whatever. So at that point, that's when you have to start the milling process. So here, these are just the 6x6s. I haven't done anything to them. I need to get the plane down the marks that are on the top or that are on the surface of the wood that comes from the lumber mill. So I got to get all those planer marks out, and I need to get any twist out of the board. I need to make sure that the board is square on all four sides, and then I need to plane the ends to where they're not only square, but they're the exact same, all of them are exact same length. So I've already got these two done. That's something else. If you didn't know, you can tell by pretty good on this shot, but see how it's lighter right here and darker here? That is a telltale that this is the, what's it called? This is the sapwood, right? So this is towards the outer. It's not quite at the outer end of the tree, but it's closer to it. And all the sapwood does is it's what carries all the nutrients up towards the top of the tree. And unfortunately, the reason we don't want it in our projects, for the most part, a lot of times it doesn't matter, but the reason it's undesirable would be because that's where all the good stuff is when you're a bug. All right, so bugs like that stuff because that's where that's where they can get a lot of food from. So you'll see as this dries and whatnot, you're going to have, or any project, you're going to have these parts of the wood, the parts of the lumber that you'll have holes in it. You'll have just where the bugs have been chewing away at it or whatever, and then the rest of the wood is totally clean, totally left alone. There's nothing for them to eat there, so they leave that part alone. So I'm going to go ahead and mill this up and kind of go through the steps of what I'm talking about, how I do it. if you do something that's better, leave me a message. Leave me a comment so that we can all learn and grow. Or if you see me doing something, you're like, well, that's why you were always getting this other bad result or whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and start milling this down. The first step for me is to get a face and a face edge, right? So I try to pick two. Now in this particular one, there's only a couple of little knots. There's no huge knots, but that's primarily because I've got the pith right here. So we're really near the center of the tree. And if you didn't know this, the pith, the center of the tree is very unpredictable. It's already started to check right there, but there's nothing you can do. I will coat the ends in beeswax here shortly, just to prevent them from checking super bad or super, to keep the moisture from exiting the ends of the wood so quickly and making it check that way. But so I just choose two sides. One's going to be my face and one's going to be my face edge. And I mark them as such once I get them where I want them. Now that I see the pith, I don't want that. I just don't want it as my face or my face edge. So I'm going to use the two sides, this one and this one, which are furthest away from it. And as you can tell, I've actually already, when I cut it, I just randomly marked two sides so that I was taking all my measurements and laying everything out for my cuts, for my length cuts, off of the same two registration faces. So, good thing they're already marked, but I'm getting ready to plane those marks off, and I'll have to remark them. And the good thing is that this is actually turning out really nice. This is a really nice part of the timber, but the nice thing about this length, they're 31.5 inches long, and I can get a full stroke over the entire thing, so that's kind of nice. A nice change from the long stuff. I do have a nice knot right here. And I got a nice little knot right here too, or a little undulation of sorts. But I do things that some people might find different than the way they do it. So I got it nice and clean for the most part, except for right here at the end. And this, I'm just using this to clean up the planer marks from the number 5. Set real shallow. And look, I finally made it. It's not in the laundry cap anymore, but alright, so now that that's cleaned up, the first side you're not trying to square up anything because nothing is flat and square and true and known. It's not a known surface yet. So you just get it flat as you can. I usually use some kind of combination, some kind of straight edge or rule or whatever. Some people use the edge of their plane, but I don't find that to be as accurate, especially when you don't have a lot of great lighting or anything. So what I do is I just mark it where it rocks, where it's high, or wherever it's touching the rule, right, basically. About every 5 or 6 inches or so. Just marking where it's high. This one's actually turning out fairly nicely. So there's not a whole lot of irregularities or in the straightness of it, but and this is probably a step that's not necessary. Now, I know it's not necessary. It's just when I go to mill lumber, I want to make sure that it's square. I mean, why go through all this much trouble and then not have square wood and true wood, true lumber that you're working with? And it doesn't take a whole lot, really, to get. Probably get a little better with this. Probably just need to take one swipe across the top. Oh yeah, nice and smooth. And keep putting my pencil down. That's good. That's good. Still good. And we're good all the way across. So that's all it took to get that. Like I said, I'm probably nuking it out, being a little bit critical with my stuff, but if you didn't know, I'm a machinist, so everything is critical, and I'm being less critical with wood, but I'm still being critical. So I take this. This is good. Well, it's flat. Let's see if there's any twist in it. Get off the knot. Oh. And it's just a hair twist. It's a little bit high on this edge, so see if we can't rectify that. It's not going to take a whole lot. It's just barely high, but I'm just kind of working from corner to corner. See if that does the trick. If you haven't made a pair of winding sticks like I have here, I recommend it. They come in hand, especially if you're woodworking with hand tools. They're going to be pertinent on every single project you do. So just a hair more. That was probably a little heavy right there, more than I wanted anyhow. So if you are also a machinist or have ever done it, you'll know it's just like dialing in a part with a 4-jaw chuck, a large part where you have to go back and forth between the OD and the face here you gotta keep going back, so I got no twist now. But I still have to go back and check and make sure that I didn't put a hollow in it. I didn't put any kind of defect, put a hump or a bow or anything in the wood. So now it's flat and it has no twist. It's milled down as smooth. It gets the face mark, which is just a big cursive F. I don't know if that's right or not. That's what I do, and it really doesn't matter. As long as you mark it and you know what your marks mean. So next I'm going to flip it one side, or one turn, and whoops. Sometimes you just don't know when you're doing this, when you're going to run into the opposite grain. I mean, you can look at it and try to tell, but when you look at it from the side, it actually looks like this might, I don't know, it might just be at the very end that's going the other way. We'll find out. I think that is. I think this is against the grain, except for right here. So just mill that off, or join it off. And I'll flip it back around. You can tell if the grain's going like this, if you've got grain that's going up like this, the grain's going to be like that on the top so that you're not tearing out the wood. And if it's going this way, if it's traveling up the wood this way, then your grain's going to be in that direction. I mean, it's kind of common sense, but... So I'm just going to kind of leave this part alone now that I've already done it. Oh yeah, that's perfect. It's just right here where there's a knot, and knots always have crazy grain. Wrong one. I want a little bit wider plane. I sharpened up all my plane irons this morning. Trying to get in a late start, but alright. Now we have a face that we can go off of, our face, right? So now we get to break out the square. I need to take a little bit off right at the knot. And again, I put it flat up against this side, and I hold it firm and flat against that side, then I just slowly bring it down, and then I mark the high spot. So it's not terrible, but it's a little bit high on this side of the wood. Enough for me to want to plane it down. And the way I do it is I go like that, right? So if I'm going to try and take it out to here, then I know that's about three widths of the joint or whatever plane I have. In this case, this is a number 5 jack plane. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3, 2, 1 and just step it over. So I did 2 there already. There's my third. As I step over, I do 2 and then 1. And then for good measure, before I go measure it again, I gotta take off a little bit of that nut. I go over the whole thing. With a smooth plane. That's what number 3 and 4 are smooth planes. Alright, so once you get that, now we should be, maybe not there, but we're getting close. And we are definitely getting close. So I'm going to just keep going with the smooth plane. Just if I start with the jack plane, it's set a little heavier. I'm going to take more off than I want. So same thing. Going with them over the knot here, and then I'm going to do the same thing. 3, 2, 1. That should bring me right in there where I want to be. Well, I took the third one more in the middle, so I've already done one there. And the one. If you have never dealt with hand planes, this is so enjoyable. So much better than running joiners and table saws and planers and all the loud tools. Oh, we're so close. In fact, we're already there on this side. Just a little bit right here in the middle, and then a little bit right here. Should be good. And it's so nice when you plane it off. It takes that. Now it sounds like a lot, but these chips are not very thick. And this is the standard chip that I'm getting, and it's 3,000, so it's about the thickness of a human hair. And that should have put me right where I want to be. Perfect. 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 So, at this point, because I went with the winding sticks on this face, and I squared this face up to this, that's all I need. So this one gets face, edge, FE, like iron. Now these are my 2 reference faces. They're the only 2 that get marks. And I have a little nick right there. So I'm just going to take my spoke shave. I wasn't looking for real clean 6x6s that were just pristine, no marks or mess ups or anything. I didn't go for, grade 1 or anything like that. That was like twice as much money. So I literally just picked out what was on the the best thing they had on the rack, and I went with it. So I'm going to get little things that I don't really want, but I'm not going to do anything about it. except for I don't want these like little piece of tear out right here. I don't want it there, so I'm going to smooth it out with a little spoke shave. I'm not taking a whole lot, just a little bit. And I'll break all these irises, these corners here, just one swipe, just so it's not real sharp, and that'll actually cut you if you're not careful. All it's doing is breaking that edge. That is so smooth and so nice. And I just do that all the way around, and then I take, because I've learned, I'm taking the spoke shave, and in conjunction with the number 4, and I'm playing these down to the desired length, which in my case is right at 31 and a half inches. I'm trying to think of anything else that I do that might be beneficial to anybody, but I think that might be it. It's not a real sexy video, and hopefully I'll get the mortises laid out. I'll get all these squared up to length, and I'll get it laid out tonight. I'll wake up in the morning and start chopping mortises. So I'll make sure I film that. I use a different process, and I don't use mortising chisels or anything like that. I use the same process that Paul Sellers uses, and that's where I learned it from. And it has worked great on every mortise I've chopped since I learned the method, so I'm going to apply it here, and I'll show you that tomorrow. Friends and family, as always, I love you. Everybody else, see you later. Maybe I'll shoot something later tonight. If not, I'll at least shoot something tomorrow. Peace.